He's just a hack, just an absolute hack. And he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
Welcome back to Hack City. Joe DeLeon, Sean Anderson, two former college football players from the University of Rhode Island. We're back from our trip to Brookings. We're going to be talking about that a little later on in the show. We do have some FCS action that we have to talk about because of the craziness of the weekend. That, of course, discussing the outcome of the Montana-Idaho game. Some thoughts on North Dakota State versus North Dakota, as North Dakota State was upset and dominated by North Dakota. And then a couple other outcomes for these top 25 teams in the FCS world. Before we get to that, though, Sean, can you just quickly share with our listeners a word from BetOnline?
Yeah, let's just talk about primetime games for a moment. We need to be betting the under, right? Consistently, we need to just and it's un-American, and we all understand we want points scored and we want Rams Chiefs in 2018. We're not getting that this year. For some reason, we're just not. So bet the under. It seems like the play every single time. Get the latest game odds, spreads, and totals from the NFL and college football at your fingertips with BetOnline's real-time updates on statistics, news, and odds. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Thank you, Sean. While you were doing that, I was attempting to place an under bet, but I'm going to have to wait till for tonight's game. I'm going to have to wait until after. I'm going to jump right into it. I want to start off talking about what happened with North Dakota State versus North Dakota. 49-24, a complete bloodbath, an outcome that I don't think anyone would have expected. I thought that we were moderately tame on our analysis for North Dakota, saying that they haven't really shown us something yet this season. They didn't look great against South Dakota State. We had some pause in anticipating what was going to happen when they played North Dakota State. And instead of just coming in and beating them in a close one, a nail-biter upset, they smoked them. They completely overwhelmed and dominated them. And it was really interesting when we were watching and at the South Dakota State Northern Iowa game. Brendan, Chad, all the other guys that were sitting together in their usual group kept coming over to us and bringing up this score. Yeah. And we had a long discussion about it. Look, my main takeaway from this, because the score is what it is, and this is more of a box score takeaway in our typical opening segment. We have to discuss, what does this mean for the North Dakota State program? Because right now there's a lot of people that are doing the sky is falling. North Dakota State's done. They're toast. They're not the same team that they were. This isn't FBS, first of all, has to be said. There's still a path for them to make a run in the playoffs, which I'm sure that they will, that they'll probably win some games. Will they reach the national championship? Probably not the way that they're looking. But my thought on this, and the reason why they haven't been as good as we're used to seeing, is that in the past, when they've been really dominant, they've had an NFL quarterback on their roster.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, Trey Lance, Easton Stick. They've had all of these guys that were just heads above the rest of the talent at the quarterback position in the entire FCS landscape. When you have an NFL guy on an FCS team, specifically at the quarterback position, you have not only an advantage, but a significant one. In newsflash, Cam Miller's not an NFL guy. They haven't had an NFL guy in a long time. That has caused them problems in my eyes. I don't think that Mike Entz is done. I don't think that Entz is can't recover this. But they have to get back to the recruiting and development of the quarterback position that they had for so long. It has taken such a step backward.
Yeah, my feed was going crazy this weekend.
Matt Entz, by the way, I'm an idiot. I said Mike.
People are saying that North Dakota State has never really fully recovered from the COVID year. It's very possible, and they were hit hard by transfers in that year just in general. But right now we have to look at it honestly. North Dakota State is the fourth best school in the North Dakotas, or in the Dakotas. They're behind South Dakota State, South Dakota, and North Dakota. They are not better than them. And we haven't seen that. For us, this is new territory to be looking at this team as the fourth best. And I don't think it was unfair for our analysis pregame, believing that they would beat North Dakota, given the history of both programs playing each other since we started covering them. Mm-hmm. So if people wanted to go back and play hindsight game, we could play that hindsight game. Who was expecting that?
Right. Let's. There's no point in playing that game. So
right, I am not playing that game.
Yeah.
They want to play the game. Huge win for North Dakota. North Dakota State just can't seem to figure it out.
And my main thing with this, they're going to eventually figure it out. They're eventually going to regain their footing. They are a historically good program. I don't think that this is a fire ants type of a thing. It's not, and it shouldn't be. They are still a historically dominant FCS football program. This is what's really confusing, I think, for North Dakota State fans, is that, they're bleeding right now. They have bled, and it's something that we have never seen before. They're human. Normal football programs have peaks and valleys. It's like when Alabama has a down year. We're all like, what the hell is going on? And we're doing that this year. You're just not going to have that same year-to-year dominance. You're just not. There is always going to eventually be that down year when you're a normal football program. And this is the first time we're tasting it. I don't want to say get used to it, because that seems like such a negative thing to say, but this was going to happen eventually. And I'm willing to bet within the next year or so, they'll probably bounce back because, again, they're North Dakota State.
It is a down year, though. There's no denying it. At this point of the season, we just have to register. They are not the world beater team and program that we've seen in years past. They are just having a down year. It happens, but boy, is it interesting to witness seeing this and who's going to come out of the Dakotas making the playoff at the end of the year, because it looks like a lot of them could make it.
Speaking of another one of the Dakotas, South Dakota continues to build a really impressive resume. They beat Youngstown 34-31. Dude, Youngstown has to be one of the weirdest teams because their record's not great, but they have a pretty good roster and they put up a really good fight every single week. So that's just a nice little feather in the cap for a South Dakota team that is building some momentum. I'm excited for that South Dakota State game. That is going to be really fun.
Yeah, South Dakota has to be really legit because Youngstown has the potential and makes you feel like they're legit all season. They had that huge win over Southern Illinois, who's a very good program, and I think Southern Illinois just sleptwalked through that game. It was just one of those freak games, but they're fighting. They've been fighting all year. They lose by 3 to Northern Iowa. Okay. And then they lose by 3 to South Dakota. Those are good programs. I don't know what to make of the Penguins. Where's their win? What's the win going to be? They're a good program that can scrap and fight, and they have an online presence like no other with their fans. They a little culty, but it is what it is in Youngstown, I guess. I do not know what to make of Youngstown State. South Dakota, I know what to make of them. That's a good football team. I know what to make of South Dakota. They are a good football team that runs offense well and plays some decent defense. So that is a winning combination for me. Youngstown State, odd team, odd offense, odd defense.
Yeah, that's a really, really good way to put it. The CAA continues to just pile drive themselves. It's like you lock the bathroom at a dive bar at like 1 o'clock in the morning and everybody's just pissed off. And everyone on the outside's kind of standing there and you can hear just all the banging and clanging and everybody's just slamming into the walls. There's just a bloodbath going on in that bathroom. And eventually someone's going to emerge or nobody will emerge. And you're just going to open that door and everyone's going to be passed the hell out. As I'm referring to, UNH beats Albany 38-31. I don't really get why we keep doing this. There's these random CAA teams that just keep getting ranked and then they lose and then we take them out. I've tried to say this the whole time. There's a couple really good teams that deserve to be ranked in the CAA. Delaware, William & Mary, UNH, and Villanova. The rest of them are just going to keep beating themselves. We got to stop. Just stop putting them in there. Elon, Albany. Yeah, Richmond's probably going to be in there eventually because, people love Richmond for whatever reason. Just stop. Calm down.
I think I actually kept UNH off this week. I might have because I'm sick of the doors. I'm sick of going through the doors. But you made a good point. There's 3 teams. You got 3. Villanova, William & Mary, Delaware. That's what I'm comfortable with, Joe. The last is the revolving door of the soup of the week. That's what I see from the CAA. We got 3, and then someone else is always falling off. It's a mess right now, and it's going to continue to be a mess all the way through November. How could it not? How could it not be, Joe?
Another team that I'm also really annoyed keeps being brought up in the rank discussion, Mercer. Chattanooga beats Mercer 22-10. I think that this closes the door. They're not the same team that they were last year. They, for some reason, have had a fine record, and they keep getting propped up. They're not that good. I haven't put them on any of my ballots at all, and I'm not going to for the rest of the season. But nice little, added little notch on the resume for Chattanooga, because this is a good conference win.
I tried to tell everybody about Chattanooga, and now that I did, next week they're going to lose. But I have a very interesting fat stat from this game. Not from an offensive player, a very rare addition to fat stats. But Mercer has very good playmakers. They are not a good team overall. They have 2 very, very good wide receivers that continuously get brought up in fat stats. Very productive, but that does not make a full roster, and that does not make total wins.
I want to start us off talking about the Montana-Idaho game, because I think that this one, we're going to do UNI South Dakota State just because, we were there in person for it. I think that we have some takeaways, probably not going to be in-depth breakdown because they completely waxed them. But this Montana-Idaho game really throws a wrench into the national discussion. Montana wins 23-21. A lot of Montana fans feel vindicated. Look, I actually think, which was weird, there are a lot of people that were kind of trying to dunk on us. I think that you and I, compared to the FCS Fan Nation crew, and apparently Sam Herder was also very scathing and negative, we were probably 2 of the more positive individuals when talking about Montana. So to come try and dunk on us was really weird. Like, we're supportive of you guys. And one of the things we said is, there's momentum to be built. There's ways to kind of progress this thing. And the UC Davis win was a nice way to put yourself back in the rankable discussion. But the fact of the reality is, we're not going to prop you up when your whole first month of the season was bad. It was terrible. It was not a good first month of the season. It was not a rankable average. First month.
That's all. You made the point like 2 or 3 weeks ago. You said Montana is just it, and has been fine. Yeah. But at that point, it was, you are completely and totally average, which it could be worse and it could be better. But that's what it was looking like then. And for some reason, the realism that this show tried to provide was not taken lightly. Why would it be? It's college football. I know when I say that, I hear the absurdity in my voice when I talk about this crazy, stupid sport and be like, oh, look at us. We're trying to provide the real analysis and try to be the level-headed hosts. No, there's no such thing. It's the dumbest, stupidest sport on earth. And Montana just beat Idaho, and Idaho didn't look like they were going to lose a game all season. So congrats, Montana fans, on your surprise, crazy-ass win. I'll wear it. We'll wear it on the chin. It won't be the first time, but it's you got to understand that it's just batshit crazy. That's what we have to understand.
We'll probably unpack this a little bit more when we do our ballot show to talk about the ranking implications. Way that this game played out, though, Idaho was not awake for the beginning of this game. It was 20-0 right before the half. Idaho steals some points with limited time left before halftime, ends up making 20-7. Eventually, they turned things on. They started moving the ball, and a couple interceptions when they were moving the ball in some of those drives in the second half by Giovanni McCoy. That really killed him. And I almost... not great throws, but it's into the chasm of what makes Montana historically such a tough team to defeat, even when maybe they're not having their best year. They cause so much confusion, frustration, disruption that leads to silly turnovers for your offense. And that is what helped Montana really keep this lead up until I think it was like 6 minutes left in the game, when Idaho started to create this crazy surge back into it. They end up getting 2 late touchdowns, the 2-point conversion that they try to have, where I think Hayden Hatton was trying to throw the ball to somebody in the end zone, doesn't work to tie the game 23-23 and ends up being 23-21. They recover an onside kick, but it doesn't count because of an offsides call, which was insane. That you got the execution was there, and they just completely blew it. And then Montana does a really good job of closing that thing out. Idaho did have one final shot. They got the ball back. Bad fumble, bad turnover on the final play by Giovanni McCoy. He was trying to get rid of the football. My main thing with this, though, what I think really propelled Montana and helped them is the fact that they were able to throw the ball on 3rd and medium, 3rd and long, which they haven't really done that successfully this year. They haven't been able to convert as a passing team, and that fold of their offense showed up when they needed it to. Going up against a team that will air you out and will kill you, they were the team that was having more success throwing the football.
Yeah, it's you look at this game and it's baffling because Montana had 11 completions, but they were effective completions,
right?
And it's so Big Ten West. It makes you want to pull your hair out. And you look at Giovanni McCoy, who has 26 completions, 336 and 2 touchdowns. You're like, oh, Idaho must have won, but the 2 picks really hurt them. And then just Montana did the little things right. They were 3 for 3 on field goals. Grant Glasgow, good work. You helped to win a game for your team as a college kicker. You just don't see stuff like that. You don't.
It's such a Montana thing too. Just to have a kicker who hits all of his kicks.
Just all the little things working for Montana, and that does not happen often. So I can't give it, especially in college football. It just doesn't. So it's not to bury the lead for the poll show. I can't give them the super boost, and I can't give Idaho the super drop because it feels like it's like the first time we've seen Idaho make mistakes. And I don't know if you punish the kid in class that talks for the first time out of line in a semester.
Well, that's what I tweeted this, and again, we're gonna dive into it on the poll show. Montana gets propped up, but I'm not going to throw them into the top 10 because that first month of the season, it's a bad resume. You barely beat a Division II team, and you lost to, oh my God, is it Northern Arizona or Northern Colorado?
Northern Arizona,
a team that for some reason keeps being brought up. Some people are trying to make the argument that they're a good team. They're not. That beginning resume, it's bad.
That's me.
But
That's me doing that, by the way.
Shut up. The Idaho win's great, but it does not make up. It's to use your analogy. It's like you have a bad student who's getting just D's and C's to start the year. 1A doesn't give you an A+ to finish the year. No, it's going to bump you up to a B-.
It's
going to help
system.
you. Yeah, it's going to help you out. You got to put together, and we talked about this final stretch for them, they got to put together more wins if they do want to make that argument to be in the top 5. And if they play like that again, you know what? They will be. But it starts with one win. And then the converse of that, Idaho has one of the most impressive resumes in FCS. They've got an FBS win. They have they almost have 2 FBS wins against 2 moderately good FBS programs. Nevada's bad. Cal's a decent team. And they've got a bunch of other great wins. So I'm not going to knock them. I'm not going to overreact. That's the point here. That's the whole point. Great win by Montana, but we just got to be patient.
Yeah, I just don't know why they can't take it week to week. And I hate to keep bringing these points up. They still have to face Sac State and Montana State for the rest of the year. So if I'm a Montana fan, I'm staying quiet. I'm going to say, good win, boys. Let's get Northern Colorado and let's get Portland State. And let's try to split between Sac State and Montana State, which I don't think they will. And I don't think that's unfair to say. I think they're going to be, what is that going to be? 8-3, and that's a great season. And this win, this unexpected win over Idaho, it might put the 3-loss team into the playoffs. It really might, because we were saying they need to get one out of these 3, and I can't believe they did it. I can't believe this stupid team did it.
South Dakota State versus Northern Iowa. To talk about the game first, we'll kind of give some takeaways from the trip. 41-6. A ton of turnovers forced early in this game. Ran all over Northern Iowa. This was a really weird game to watch because I kept saying to Sean, Theo Day would make like a really good first half of a play where he'd like evade pressure, he'd show composure in the pocket, and then he'd throw one of the most back-breaking interceptions that they could possibly throw. This is my main takeaway, and I'm going to keep this really succinct. I just think that we are really able to now understand how good South Dakota State is. I have never, in all the years that we have played, I've never seen an FCS team that good. That is a JMU, current JMU. Like if they went head-to-head with JMU, FBS undefeated JMU, I think that they could win that game or at very least put up a very close fight. That is it's veteran, dominant FBS quality team. And it's because of everything we said. They brought back almost all of the guys that were like 5th and 6th year guys to come back for one more run. That's a team that's been playing together for a really goddamn long time. I don't even know any of the underclassmen because it's all 5th and 6th year guys. It's insane the amount of veteran leadership that is at every single position group. They punched Northern Iowa, a good football team with an NFL quarterback in the mouth and pummeled them for 4 quarters. That is a really goddamn good win. It doesn't need any more analysis than that. If you want to get pissy, if you're a fan of another team, say that we're just completely going all in on South Dakota State, go to one of their games and tell me if you think differently, because you can't.
Yeah, a couple takeaways. Theo Day is seeing him in person, seeing how the ball flies out of his hand, seeing his processing, his pocket awareness, and just some of the crazy throws that he can make. I'm like, that's a next level guy. And they couldn't move the ball against South Dakota State. It's a very complete roster. And UNI is a good team. And they just kept fumbling the ball. And there was a stretch where there were like 6 fumbles consecutively. And we didn't get to see a play on our side of the field for about a quarter and a half.
I have it. Wait, let me see if I can pull it up.
Because
I tweeted it. It went interception, UNI interception, SDSU touchdown, UNI fumble, SDSU fumble, UNI interception, SDSU fumble, UNI fumble, SDSU touchdown, UNI fumble, SDSU touchdown, and then UNI punt. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That was 11 consecutive drives. That was the whole first half.
Dude, I've never seen a game like that before in my life. I just haven't. But it's a great point. And there might be backlash for the reception, but it's not unjust. Because you look at that team play, South Dakota State, you say, you genuinely are like, who's going to beat them? Who will do this? Who is going to beat them? Because they either have to come out. I would even say a sleepwalking South Dakota State team where they let an opponent get a first half, still dangerous. I think they could win a game and a half.
I think that the only team that has at least shown me the capability to do it is Montana State. And I really believe, I swear to freaking God, if we get I don't care if I curse. If we get a fucking playoff bracket again where it's 1 and 3 and these two teams have to play each other in the semifinal, I am going to be so goddamn pissed. Let them set this up for them to play in the national championship game. If they both run the table, make them play 1-2. Yeah. I don't want to see that shit again. They got robbed last year. That was bullshit. And I'm not trying to, again, it sounds like I'm a South Dakota State fan, but we were robbed of what should have been the national championship.
A fantastic game. Yeah. No, I'm following you. I'm tracking. That is the only team I'm seeing. If Idaho had handled Montana, maybe we're having a conversation about their dynamic offense and how they could maybe maneuver South Dakota State's defense and the pass rush and all that. But you just don't see South Dakota State making a lot of errors, mental errors. I mean, the fumbles, the turnovers was just odd and weird and dumb. But even when we're talking about their pass rush, right, how they're not always getting home, they're staying in the lane. They're staying in the lane, and an NFL quarterback is getting out sometimes to make a crazy throw. Other than that, he's staying composed and they're covering like hell. And then it's an incompletion. Like that's right. You just don't even their faults, they're still winning.
To talk about the trip though, tailgating was fun. Hospitality was appreciated. I will say it was different than the first time. I thought it was, and maybe I sound like a dork for saying this. I thought it was kind of cool that like every 20 minutes a different person was like, Hack City. There were a lot of people that just, it seems like that they were listeners of the show. And I'm not pretending that I'm any bit of a celebrity, but it's kind of cool when you just sit here and we both yell into a microphone and they actually put faces to numbers. You just see people that are tuning in. You don't really consider who's the guy who's tuning in. And to have some people come up to us, even on Friday night, we had some people say some stuff to us. And I don't know. It's very rewarding to know that there's real people that like what we do.
I was telling my dad that last night. I'm like, you know what? It's nice to see that at least there's some people that acknowledge that we're visiting their campus. And that's kind of the thing. We want to check out the scene, be ingrained in it. Brookings is fun. Brookings is a fun town. Their little downtown area is a blast. It's just a fun little college town. And I was telling Joe, I'm like, I wouldn't have minded going to school there. You learn more about it, and you see more people, and you meet people, talk about it, and do all that. It's just a fun town. There's a lot to do, and you don't think there's going to be a lot to do in South Dakota, and there is. Yeah. It's very cool. Definitely ripped it hard on Friday nights.
Yeah, wait, we got to talk about the fact that every single place that we went to, and we were hanging out with Chad and Brendan and a collective of guys, that there was they were making up drink names. There was a dude.
I think Dustin Helton was involved. I'm pretty sure he was. Dustin Helton was, yeah.
He apparently bought us the Chuck Norris's, which I realized he said that on Twitter, and then I realized after the fact I asked to put those on our tab because I felt bad that they kept buying us drinks. So Dustin technically didn't buy us those. The Chuck Norris's were good.
Those were good.
The cement mixer.
The cement mixer was awful. I hated that. The
Prairie Fire.
Drink.
Prairie Fire was good. You're soft.
You're a tequila guy. I am not a tequila guy. It was a little bit frustrating every time you had a drink and they said, "Oh, you got to try this one," and it's just another concoction. Whereas I had the red beer. I loved the red beer, which was, I think, just tomato juice and Busch Light, which I love. That's great. It's not some fancy beer. Hey, do you want an olive in it? Sure, why not? We're trying to class up Busch Light. That's great. That's fun. But I enjoyed it. There was a lot to enjoy, but knowing that there was another crazy ass drink coming down the pike, I was not very enthused to see what else. What kind of concoction they had for me? That was what's going on. Just drink a beer, or some whiskey, or some tequila. They're all good drinks. You don't need to scare us.
Right. That was the unnerving level of fear where
you were having your kinky drinks and you were trying to hide away from it.
Okay. I joking. There were signs at multiple bars that were like, kinky vodka, peach and whatever. And I kept jokingly say, "Hey, should I order one of those? Hey, should I order one of those?"
Yeah, good.
And I forget who. Someone actually ordered me one.
Chad.
And Chad knew I wanted to try it. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. But there was that fear that someone was going to hand you a new shot, and you're just like, I want to pace myself. I don't want to be. Oh, by the way, the $36 I spent on the worst pizza in my. Okay, last year didn't eat any food before going to bed, and I was deaf in the morning. I will say, eating that horrible DiGiorno pizza that was, pretended to have been previously made right before it was handed to me. It did help a little bit. I wasn't hungover the next morning. It helped me recover. I don't know why, but for some reason, I thought I was flexing nuts by the fact that I was buying the whole pie while all these people were ordering singular slices, all these college kids.
You're flexing on the college kids getting $3 slices, and you're saying, hey, watch this. Whereas they know it's dirtbag pizza, and you don't. So they're getting one over on you. I don't know what it is about pizza in that state. I'm not going to eat another slice. If I go back. We did not go back to the pizza joint, the scary pizza joint. We were all over the place this trip. But we found a new one. We found a new crazy ass spot. And I have mixed feelings about the city of Sioux Falls. There's a lot going on and a lot of weird
Sioux Falls is bad. Sioux Falls, I don't like Sioux Falls.
I don't think I'm in on Sioux. I like Brookings more than Sioux Falls.
I've never been in a bigger city where it feels like not a single person lives there.
I don't know what people do. I just don't know. I know I'm not crapping on the Midwest. I actually romanticize the Midwest lifestyle of having of simply, I romanticize it, and it's one of those like daydreams, like moving to Alaska and fishing and doing that stuff. The Midwest life is like, I respect it, but boy, do you have some weirdos. Do you have some legit weirdos that aren't city weirdos? They are just, I don't know. How do you describe the bar? They're the pub or whatever it was.
It was a pub. And we went in and had to go into the basement to watch the Oregon-Washington game and then to watch Notre Dame USC. And first of all, whoever was controlling the aux was playing some of the worst, just all meme songs. Terrible. Just some dork that was sitting there probably by himself who was yucking it up, thought he was so goddamn funny.
Dude, no, and you're not joking. They were playing I Believe I Can Fly. Because we walked in, they were playing like classic rock and some Irish music. I'm like, okay, this is an Irish joint. Like that's what this is normal. And then somebody decided they needed some attention and started playing Dick in a Box, I Believe I Can Fly extended version.
F You Bitch was the other one that was played.
Yeah. And I'm just like, what the who is this for? Why am I and the basement, and they're doing holiday stuff or Halloween stuff, and that's fine. But they had a smoke machine. And
in a basement, you don't do that.
I walked down and said, "Oh, I guess people are smoking in this joint." Nope. No, they have a fog machine, and I'm trying to. Me and Joe are trying to eat after a rather long day, and I'm eating. I'm like, why am I eating smoke?
We should have just gone to Culver's. We should have just gone to Culver's. That was that was the mistake that we made, and we should have just gone to the hotel.
I feel like a lot of people that go to the Midwest say that it's just we should have just gone to Culver's.
The other torturous bit too is that the freaking manager of the place, I had to keep asking. I asked the bartender the first time, "Hey, can you put NBC on the one TV when the Notre Dame USC game turns on?" He proceeds to put it on the TV from across the bar behind me. So I have, or like on an angle. So I have to like open up to watch the game. And then he puts LSU Auburn on the one that was directly in front of us. I'm like, okay, you know what? Fine. I will turn and watch this. Bartender comes over. Oh, I'm so sorry. He put it on the wrong TV. Clearly annoyed with the manager. Clearly they've got some kind of beef going on, and I'll get him to switch it. This little shit comes out and switches. Instead of putting the Notre Dame game on the TV in front of us, he turns the Notre Dame game off on all of the TVs in the bar and puts the Auburn LSU game on all of the TVs. So now it's not on any of them. And I, for the fourth time, have to ask this poor bartender.
It's so awkward. It's so sad. It's just like, it's just like, you just want to watch the game at the bar and eat the food and maybe have a drink. And
never going back to that place. The worst bar I've ever been into in my life.
Oh, it's better than the Bungalow. But I know they're two different animals.
That's at least by the beach, though. That's like I can at least kind of.
I don't know. That bar's at least in the dark. Which I don't mind. I thrive in that like a mushroom. But it was I still had a fun trip. I think I just had a blast. The people that we met were fun and nice, and thank you to all that either gave us drinks, offered to buy them, or just said they liked the show. It does not go. We appreciate it. Yeah. Unnoticed. It does not go unnoticed or unappreciated from us.
All right. Fat stats to close this out.
Well, let's get right into it. We had a fat weekend ourselves with plenty of Chislic and cheese curds and just fat everywhere. Let's start it off. Davidson, running back, Maury Adams, 30 carries, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns. Drake, quarterback, Luke Bailey, went 24 for 32, 411 yards, and 5 touchdowns. You think so, Joe? How about Monmouth running back Jaden Sheridan, 16 carries, 276 yards, and 4 touchdowns. You know what that averages out to? 17.25 yards per carry.
Oh, that's dummy. Tough.
That's got to be it. How
Shut up.
Stay tuned, idiot.
Keep breeding.
No, keep breeding. Nice, man. Learn how to speak. North Dakota running back Gavin Zybarth, 18 carries, 156 yards, 3 touchdowns. Alabama A&M running back Xavier Langford, 16 carries, 193, 2 touchdowns. Chattanooga defense gives up 0 rushing yards on 28 Mercer attempts all game.
That's nuts.
That's a fat stat. If I see it, somebody posted it. I checked it this morning. I said, okay, let's just see. Maybe that's just, it didn't net out. It did. They had 0 rushing yards. To close it out, Idaho State wide receiver Cheaton James, 15 catches, 206 yards, 1 touchdown. So Joe, go ahead. That's got to be it. Are you sticking with Luke Bailey? Because I will let
you have Sheridan. I'll let you have Sheridan. I'm going to take Luke Bailey.
We can pick the same guy.
Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do. At Joe DeLeon, at Sanderson Radio. We'll be back.